Today, we're going to look at Paul's third and final letter to Titus. This letter was to Titus, so stay tuned. Hey, fellow soldiers, let's sharpen our swords together as we dive deep in the scriptures. We are going to conclude this Bible study of looking at Paul's private letters. This is his third private letter, and it is his letter to Titus. And it is 3 chapters long. And before we dive into the contents of this letter, we're going to be looking at who Titus is and how his path crossed Paul's path. You know, the past 2 letters we've looked at, Paul wrote 2 private letters to Timothy, and he has another protege, Titus. Titus is a Gentile. In fact, he comes from a Greek family, and we know that Titus really loved to study Greek poetry and philosophy. And we're going to see how Paul kind of caters to that, of his passion of Greek poetry and philosophy later on in this letter. Now, how do Paul and Titus's paths cross? In Paul's first missionary journey, he comes across Titus, and Titus is converted, and he starts to follow Paul and join him in his missionary journeys. In fact, after the first missionary journey, Titus attends the Jerusalem Council with Paul. Now, what is the Jerusalem Council? The Jerusalem Council is where the Christian men who debated on whether or not circumcision needed to be part of the conversion experience. Is it faith only, or is it faith and circumcision together? And after Titus was converted, he was not circumcised. So attending this council, this Jerusalem council with Paul, really gave Titus hands-on experience in watching Paul debate these issues with other men, to really see how to defend the faith, that faith alone was enough. And this was great tools that Titus used later on when he started ministering. So where did he minister? Where did Titus minister? He ministered in the cities of Corinth, Dalmatia, and Crete. In fact, Titus is at Crete when Paul writes this letter to him. Crete is a Greek island, and it was a very difficult mission field. In fact, at the end of Paul's letters, when he would write a letter, at the end he would always say something to the effect, greet, and then he would name specific individuals in that mission field of where the person's at. But in this letter is different. At the end of the letter, he says this: greet them that love us in the faith. So it's a very difficult mission field. We also see that it's a difficult mission field in the beginning of the letter. In fact, of the first chapter, in the 12th verse, Paul is really remembers that Titus has a deep love for Greek philosophy and poetry. And so he cites an ancient historian, Polybius, and Polybius's writings on the time of how the morals were in Crete. And the morals it was a very, very challenging mission field. The morals were very low. And so Paul actually, assures him that it is a difficult mission field, and really helps him and encourages him while he is there. So these private letters that we looked at 2 letters that he wrote to Timothy. We looked at 1 letter that he wrote to Titus, and he made an impression on both of these 2 young men. At the top of the list, I would have to say that these 2 young men learned perseverance more than anything from Paul. We really see that, especially in the last years of his life, when he is awaiting for his case to be heard by Nero, and how he acted in that situation. He was continuing to run his race up until the very end. And this really made an impression on Titus and Timothy, as we see these 2 young men do that themselves in their own lives. That is my spiritual food for you to munch on the rest of the week. If you see some other aspects about this letter that I did not touch on, please write in the comments section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I can't wait to see you next week.